can kind of see that. And this is really all I did for the castigator. It's just, so there's one teardrop, and then the castigator was, I don't know, something like 100 teardrops. So one of them looks a little funny, but as soon as you add another one and then, you know, blend it into that, so you've got one teardrop. And actually I would suggest, when I did this, I would do 1 or 2 teardrops in an area, and then I would stop and I would let it completely dry, and then I would come back to it. That's why it took me, you know, months to make the castigator, because I'm just going to blow on this to get some of the water off, because I'm about to stick another one down. It's a good trick with putty, is if you need to get the water off, just blow on it. It's like an old Nintendo. So I'm going to stick one on, so I've got one on her back, and I'm going to put one on her shoulder. As you can see, I've got another teardrop shape. I just press that on. I'm going to use my, actually, Privateer brand sculpting tools. They're actually a lot better than I was expecting. I use mostly homemade tools, like knives and tweezers and such, but these actually are quite good sculpting tools. And I'm not just whoring the brand; they actually are quite good. Anyway, on the bottom, fire on the bottom of it does not. It doesn't just sit in a round shape. It kind of spikes off a little bit, kind of the way it does on the top. And just think of the bottom as just fingers that grip like this, and then they're grabbing hold and they're moving like this. But the fingers, they slide around in different directions, but they always basically grab hold of the shape. So the bottoms, you can see when I attach another piece, you try to create peaks a little bit on the bottom. They don't stick out like the spikes on the top do, but they are distinct bulges. So I'm just going to keep going on here, and I'm going to keep sticking the edges down, because again, when we go in with the tweezers, we're pulling. So you want to make sure the bottom is stuck down before you start doing any of that pulling, because otherwise you're going to end up pulling the peak clean off, and then it becomes actually really hard to reattach without ruining all the detail you've done. So you can see I added another one on there. Again, I apologize if the zoom on this thing is just terrible. It's a quick cam sitting on my my arm light. Anyway, so I've got a second peak stuck down. You wet the things, and then, so priority 1, you have to move it into the one next to it. So you have to make the ridge on the new one. If you want to make it look like one continuous area of fire, I'm going to take the ridge on this one, and you can kind of see I'm sloping it back up into here. And when I'm done with this, I'll post some still shots with a better camera, just so you can see kind of how this ended up. I'm continuing the ridge and making it part of the ridge on this one, and that's how you make kind of convincing looking fire. Is that it's not just these chunks sitting next to each other, is that it's a whole big writhing entity, and and just every piece flows into every other piece. So again, I'm going here, I'm trying to like make this peak a little higher over here. And I mean, there's not really any kind of defined thing when you're done. It's just kind of when it sort of looks good, when it has enough noise added to it and it looks fairly natural. You're done. So I mean, this is, as I said earlier, this is the fire that I'm doing here is scaled a little bit too big for what I'm doing. I should have done the fire a little smaller than this. But anyway, it doesn't make a big deal. So now another thing, so you can see once I've got a little bit of fire, it actually looks pretty good from that direction. But from this direction, it still just looks like a distinct teardrop. So again, we're going to go back and we're going to create the same way we did before. We cut a shape out of it, and you can do that with a knife, or I just use the tweezers. And that's kind of the thing with this. There's not really a right way to do it. I find tweezers are good because you want to create everything with ridges. You don't want it to just be smooth things next to each other. Anyway, so but yeah, you can use whatever tools are good for you. If you don't like using the tweezers, you can do it with a knife. Anyway. So you can see that now I've created a peak that's from the side as well. So you want to make sure the shape is irregular no matter where it comes from. And then when we go back to one of the last thing I'll do on here is, like, again, remember before I was talking about how the fire works like fingers. So you can see on the side it just kind of ends there. So we're going to take it in there and we're going to snake it over like a finger just to create the distinct forms at the bottom. So that it looks like it's, again, fingers snaking across her. Okay. And there we go. And so, yeah, this is actually, as I said, way too large scale fire for this particular kind of model, but it's just, I'm just showing the demonstration, and this was just a model I had lying around. So I'll take some still shots and I'll show you what this looks like. And yeah, I hope this was useful to someone. Yeah, thanks. Show that a little closer. And again, apologies for the terrible camera. It's a quick cam. What can you expect? If I ever do one of these, I'll try my actual video camera, see if that works a little better. Okay.